welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're doing something a little specialized and, well, honestly, pretty exciting. I want you to picture us, just for a moment, standing right in the middle of a busy newsroom in Addis Ababa.
And not just any newsroom. This is Addis Fortune, Ethiopia's largest English weekly newspaper.
Exactly. We've got the latest edition spread out in front of us, metaphorically speaking, of course.
Of course, you can almost smell the ink. We've got stacks of articles, printer proofs.
And usually, when we do a deep dive, we're looking for a single narrative thread. But going through this week's paper, the thing that hits you isn't a thread.
No, it's more like a fracture.
A fracture, that's a great word for it. It is a study in absolute extreme.
It really is. It's a snapshot of a country that seems to be living in two different centuries at the exact same time.
Yeah.
You read this edition cover to cover, and you get this profound sense of duality.
So that's the theme we're tracking today. Contrast. Dizzying, massive contrast. On one page, you have this, sci-fi vision of the future. We're talking futuristic airports designed by star architects, state-sponsored Bitcoin mining.
Sovereign wealth funds holding trillions of birr.
And then you literally turn the page, and you're reading about furniture makers who are, well, they're paralyzed. They can't get basic glue.
Or millions of farmers just watching the sky, waiting for rain that just didn't show up. It's jarring.
It is. So our mission today is to try and connect those dots. We're not just reading the headlines.
Right.
We're trying to figure out how that macro ambition, the skyscrapers and the crypto, how that connect to the micro reality of the carpenter on the ground.
And the farmer. It's the story of a nation stretching. And I guess the real question is, can the fabric hold together while it stretches that far?
Let's start with the highs, the ascent. And we mean that literally. The front page headliner in Fortune this week is the new Bishoftu International Airport.
And this isn't just an airport. I mean, it's a statement of geopolitical intent.
Oh, absolutely.
We are talking about a site 40 kilometers southeast of Addis, designed to handle 60 million passengers.
60 million. And that's just in phase one.
Just phase one. That's already massive. For context, that puts it right up there in the major leagues globally.
Right.
But the master plan, it goes to 110 million passengers, 4 runways, parking for 270 aircraft.
To give people an idea, Heathrow does about 80 million.
Exactly. So this is a project of global scale, and it's designed to make Ethiopia the primary connector for the continent.
But digging into the report, the detail that fascinated me wasn't actually the passenger count. It was the geography.
Ah, yes.
They're building this thing 400 meters lower in elevation than the current Bole International Airport.
And that is the critical engineering insight. This is where, physics meets economics.
How so?
Well, Addis Ababa is high. I mean, really high. And high altitude means lower air density.
The air is thinner.
The air is thinner, right. And thin air means less lift for the wings and less oxygen for the engines to burn.
Okay, that makes sense.
So at the current airport, Bole, planes often can't take off with a full load of fuel and cargo. The air is just too thin to support the weight.
So they have to make pit stops somewhere.
They have to make technical stops to refuel, or they have to leave valuable cargo behind. It's a huge constraint.
So by moving the airport down just 400 meters...
You get thicker air,
Yeah.
You gain significant performance, you can take off heavier, burn less fuel, and fly longer nonstop routes. That 400-meter drop, it changes the entire unit economics of the national carrier.
It's a physics hack for profitability.
That's a great way to put it. It's a massive efficiency gain that pays off every single time a plane takes off.
Now, the other thing that stood out in the Fortune reporting is how they are actually building this thing. Usually for a mega project of this size, you'd hire one giant conglomerate,
Yeah.
right? A Bechtel or a Vinci, and you say, here are the keys, call us when it's done.
The turnkey approach, yeah, it's standard. It centralizes all the responsibility.
Right. But Ethiopian Airlines is doing something different. They're taking a multi-firm approach.
It's a fascinating gamble. Lemi Adecha, the group's chief commercial officer, he explained this in the article.
Okay.
Instead of one giant contractor, they are looking to split the work among 4 or 5 different contractors.
Is that clever or just chaotic? It sounds like a lot of cooks in the kitchen.
Well, it's a risk mitigation strategy.
Yeah.
If you rely on one massive firm and they go bankrupt or get hit with sanctions or just, fail to deliver.
The whole project dies.
Exactly. We've seen that happen with infrastructure projects all over the world. By splitting it up, they spread the risk. But to your point, it massively increases the complexity of project management.
You have to coordinate 5 giants.
Who all need to work in sync. It's a huge task.
And they aren't wasting time. The report says site clearing has already started with a consortium that includes the China Communications Construction Company.
And the design, we have to mention the aesthetics because it plays right into the strategy.
Zaha Hadid Architects.
Yes, they're doing the terminal planner work, and they've designed this central spine concept.
It looks incredible in the renderings. It's inspired by the Great Rift Valley, is that right?
It is, but it's also functional. The spine links all the gates to minimize walking time.
Oh, that's clever.
Because you have to remember, the business model here isn't tourism to Bishoftu, it's transit.
Right. The paper said they expect 80% of the people landing here will never actually leave the airport.
Exactly. They are connecting Asia to Africa or the Middle East to South America. Ethiopia is positioning itself as the global roundabout.
So if you're flying from Beijing to Sao Paulo,
They want you changing planes in Bishoftu.
and to support that, the government is pouring concrete everywhere. A new 6-lane highway, a high-speed railway link moving at 120 kilometers an hour.
It's all a coordinated push. It's a bet on the International Air Transport Association's numbers. They project East African air travel to grow over 200% in the next decade.
So Ethiopia is building the bucket before the rain comes.
That's the plan.
Well, speaking of rain, we'll get to the lack of it later, but first we have to talk about how you pay for a 110 million passenger airport. And this brings us to the bankroll.
This is where the Addis Fortune report gets really interesting, especially around the state's financial architecture. We have to talk about the EIH, the Ethiopian Investment Holding.
The Sovereign Wealth Fund.
Correct. And wealth is definitely the operative word. The CEO, Brooke Tay, is sitting on top of 40 state-owned enterprises.
40.
And we are talking about assets worth 8.2 trillion birr.
8.2 trillion. That's a number that's hard to even visualize.
Think of it this way. It represents about 12% of Ethiopia's entire GDP.
Wow.
It's a juggernaut, but it's a top-heavy one. Over half of those assets are concentrated in just 3 companies.
Let me guess. Ethio Telecom, the commercial bank.
And Ethiopian Airlines. You got it.
So it's big and it's powerful. But here's the twist in the report that made me do a double take. I'm reading through the asset lists, and suddenly we're talking about Bitcoin.
Yes, the Sovereign Wealth Fund is mining crypto.
You don't usually see state government and Bitcoin mining in the same sentence, not unless it's some kind of regulatory warning.
No, but here it's a business strategy. EIH has a joint venture with a Hong Kong-based group, and it's not a hobby.
It's not.
Ethiopian Electric Power earned $220 million from mining in the last year alone.
$220 million. That's real money.
It's a way to leverage their energy surplus to generate foreign currency. Ethiopia has invested so heavily in hydro dams like the GERD, and sometimes they generate power that the local grid can't fully distribute or, consume yet.
So mining just monetizes that excess electricity instantly.
That's the idea. But there's a catch.
Mining is energy hungry.
Hungry is an understatement. It's absolutely ravenous.
How much are we talking?
Currently, mining consumes about 1/3 of the country's electricity supply.
Wait, 1/3? That seems incredibly high for a country where not everyone has reliable power.
And that is the conflict. You're turning electricity into dollars, which is great for the national balance sheet, but you're using a finite resource that could be used for manufacturing or lighting homes or powering hospitals. The report notes they are raising tariffs on miners. They're aiming for about 7.2 US cents per kilowatt hour by 2028. But that tension between quick cash and strategic power use is very real.
And the EIH isn't stopping there. The report says they want to assemble tablets, they want to print their own currency. It feels like they are trying to do everything.
And that leads directly to the critique that's surfacing in the Fortune articles. Experts like Takedo Alamu are warning about crowding out.
Can we unpack that term? Crowding out.
Sure. It's an economic concept where the government becomes such a big player in the market that there's just no room left for private businesses.
Oh.
If the state owns the bank, the airline, the telecom, and now the data mining and electronics assembly, how can a private entrepreneur compete? They don't have the same access to capital or, favorable regulations.
So the government inadvertently suffocates the private sector it claims it wants to help.
Exactly. And that is the perfect segue.
Yeah.
Because we've looked at the highs, the airport, the trillions, the crypto. Now I want to drag us down to street level to see how the private sector is actually doing.
Okay.
I want to talk about the squeeze.
This is where that contrast really bites. We are leaving the boardroom and entering the dusty workshops of furniture makers in Addis Ababa.
This story was just heartbreaking. It focuses on guys like Brooke Kasahun, who runs Posh Woodwork. He's got sawdust on the floor, 20 employees, and he's facing a disaster that is entirely out of his control.
It's a supply chain crisis, right? The specific culprit is MDF medium density fiberboard.
The bread and butter of modern furniture. And the price has just gone vertical.
How much?
It jumped from 3,000 birr to 5,500 birr.
Wow.
In under 2 months. That's nearly a 100% increase.
And here is the trap. Baruch signed contracts 2 months ago, so he agreed to build, say, a kitchen cabinet for a set price.
Right.
But now, the wood alone costs more than the total price he agreed to.
He's completely stuck. If he renegotiates, he destroys his reputation with his customers. If he delivers on the contract, he loses money on every single job.
Right.
He told the reporters explicitly, "We are operating at a loss."
Why is this happening? Is it just inflation?
It's a perfect storm of dependency and bureaucracy. First, 90% of this MDF board comes from China.
Okay, so it's import dependent.
Totally. So when global shifts happen, Ethiopia feels it instantly. Second, the Forex shortage, which the government is trying to fix with things like Bitcoin mining, means importers can't get the dollars to buy the wood in the first place.
But there's another layer to this, and it involves urea. This is the part where I had to stop and reread the paragraph twice.
This is one of those details you only get in a deep dive, isn't it? Urea. Most people know it as fertilizer.
Right, for farms.
But chemically, it's also a critical ingredient for making the resin, the glue, that holds MDF boards together.
So without urea, you just have a pile of wood chips.
Exactly.
So the furniture makers need urea, the farmers need urea. Who wins?
Well, the Ministry of Agriculture controls the supply, and they are prioritizing the farmers, which, I mean, given the food security situation, makes ethical sense. But the manufacturers are desperate.
The report mentioned they even asked if they could buy the expired fertilizer.
Yes. They went to the government and said, "Look, you have urea that is too old to use on crops. It's technically waste. Can we please buy it from you to make glue?"
And the answer was
Rejected. Safety concerns.
so you have factories slowing down or closing because they can't get a chemical that is likely just sitting in a warehouse somewhere, deemed waste for agriculture, but is basically gold for industry.
It's a complete bureaucratic deadlock.
That is just a maddening loss of efficiency. And on top of that, customs is adding to the pain.
That's the other complaint. Manufacturers show up with an invoice saying they paid, say, $760 per ton for materials. The customs authorities look at it and say, "We don't believe you. We think this is worth $1,150.
So they get taxed on an imaginary higher number.
Exactly. It just squeezes their margins down to zero. It highlights how fragile the foundation of the private sector is. You can build the fancy airport, but if the small businesses, the guys making the cabinets and tables, can't get raw materials, the economy has a hollow middle.
Okay, so in the middle of all this gloom for the small business owner, there was one piece of legislation in the fortune stack that looked like a potential lifeline
A potential shift.
for cooperatives.
This is a really big deal, even if it sounds a bit dry on the surface. For 9 years, cooperatives in Ethiopia, and there are 25 million members involved here.
25 million. Wow.
Yeah, a huge number. They've been legally boxed in.
How so?
They were totally closed loops, member-owned, member-funded. That sounds nice and democratic, but it limits how much money you can raise.
Yeah.
If your members are poor farmers, your co-op is going to be poor.
Right.
But a new bill tabled in Parliament is going to blow the doors off that model.
What's the change?
2 massive shifts. First, cooperatives can now sell shares to non-members.
Oh, that changes the game. So an outside investor can just buy in.
They can buy up to 10%, they get dividend rights, but, and this is the key part, they get no voting power.
Okay, so they can bring in cash without the members losing control of the steering wheel. That seems like a very specific compromise.
That's the theory. They want the capital without the corporate takeover. And secondly, cooperatives can now form joint ventures with private firms.
Why does this matter for the listener?
It's all about scale. Cooperatives hold 55 billion birr in capital. By allowing them to partner with private firms, they can enter sectors they could never touch before. Agro-processing, energy, even industrial manufacturing.
It unlocks a sleeping giant.
It really does. But I imagine the purists aren't happy.
No, there was definitely pushback. Lou Cassé, a co-op manager interviewed in the piece, he worries about diluting member control. He's worried that the soul of a co-op, which is democracy, gets eroded if you start bringing in outside investors. Do you just become another corporation?
It's the classic tension between capitalization and mission. But given the cash crunch we just talked about with the furniture makers, maybe they need the money more than the ideology right now.
They likely do. It's a modernization move trying to inject some liquidity into the grassroots.
For sure.
Okay, so we've been to the shiny airport, the crypto mines, the struggling furniture workshops, and the boardrooms of cooperatives. Now we have to go to the most difficult part of the Addis Fortune Report.
The alarm. This is the reality check that just stops you in your tracks. While we were talking about growth and investment and billion burr projects, the sky has simply refused to cooperate.
The rains failed.
Specifically the Bega rains, which run from October to December. They just didn't come, or they came erratically. And the impact is devastating. We are talking about 10 million people at risk across the Somali, Oromia, and southern Ethiopia regions.
The story focuses on the East Bale Zone. And I think for our listeners, it's important to understand what crop failure actually looks like on the ground.
Yeah.
It's not just, oh, prices went up.
No, not at all. In the East Bale Zone, crop yields dropped by more than 50%. The report profiles a farmer named Jaylan Hussein.
Yeah, reading his story was tough. It really personalizes the data.
It does. He is a father of 6. He did everything right. He planted teff and maize on 2 hectares of land. He put in the labor. But in December, when he should have been harvesting food for his family, he got nothing.
Zero.
Zero. The fields were empty.
And the economic spiral that follows is just, it's a trap. Can you walk us through that spiral?
It is a vicious cycle. Because the crops failed, Jaylan and his neighbors have to buy food. To buy food, they have to sell their assets. And their main assets are their livestock.
But because everyone is selling their livestock at the exact same moment,
the market completely crashes. Supply overwhelms demand. The price of cattle plunges.
So they are selling their future, their wealth, for pennies, just to survive the month.
They are decapitalizing themselves. It's a disaster.
Is there any response happening?
The Red Cross has activated what they call anticipatory actions. This is actually a really smart approach.
How does it work?
Instead of waiting for the famine images on TV, they are trying to get vaccines and feed to the livestock now, before they die. They want to protect the asset base of these farmers so they have something left when the rain finally returns.
But the experts in the article are sounding a very loud alarm about what comes next.
Memo Kassin, a climate scientist, was very blunt. He said, "We are too focused on these temporary responses. The real danger is the next rain cycle. The Belg rains in March to May."
And if those fail too?
He says a full-blown drought is unavoidable.
And that connects right back to everything else we've discussed. We talked about the furniture makers needing urea, which is being hoarded for farmers.
Right.
But if the rains fail, the fertilizer doesn't even matter.
That's the cruel irony. You have a resource battle between industry and agriculture fighting over chemicals. And nature might just render the agriculture side moot in these specific regions anyway.
It really brings us back to that initial image, the newspaper on the desk.
A portrait of a nation in extreme tension.
On one hand, you have the ascent, the Zaha Hadid Airport, 400 meters lower for better lift, connecting the world. You have the EIH mining Bitcoin to pull value out of the digital ether.
That's the Ethiopia that is sprinting toward 2030. But on the other hand, the foundation is being pulled apart. The furniture maker is paralyzed because global supply chains and local bureaucracy are choking him.
And the farmer is standing in a dry field because the climate has turned against him. It feels like 2 different countries.
It does.
One is flying at 120 kilometers an hour on a new railway, and the other is just waiting for rain that doesn't come.
And that is the central tension of development, isn't it? Can you pull the highs up fast enough to generate the resources you need to fix the lows?
That's the gamble. Can the Bitcoin revenue buy the wheat that's needed when the harvest fails?
Precisely. As the state secures billions for these mega projects and dominates the economy through the EIH, is enough capacity trickling down to solve the urea shortage for the carpenter? Or the water storage issue for the farmer?
Can the ascent happen without fixing the foundation?
That is the question Addis Fortune is posing this week, and I think it's the question every listener really needs to ask themselves.
A lot to think about. Thank you for joining us here in the newsroom. This has been a deep dive into Addis Fortune. Goodbye.